is now with us. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us. Is there a delay by the section of consumer given widespread general inflation and the sharp price hikes that have been taken?
See, as far as the first quarter is concerned, from a demand perspective, obviously, actually, it's not a fair comparison because last year, for one of the 3 months, you had COVID. So you're comparing 2 months of last year with 3 months of this year. Having said that, if you look at our performance over a longer period of time, and even actually over the pre-pandemic period, you will see we have healthy double-digit growths. Clearly, from a tailwinds perspective, there are two big tailwinds. One is clearly the consumer has reevaluated and reset their relationship with their own home, and we're seeing a lot of home upgradation, home renovation. You're also seeing, therefore, a turn in the real estate sector. After long, the real estate sector, the organized real estate is coming back. Individual homes, consumers are investing in, and there has been, therefore, some amount of pent-up demand. Along with this, you could also see that commercial real estate has come back strongly, especially the hospitality sector. You've seen this boom in tourism, so on and so forth, etc., hotels, etc., which were closed. Obviously, if you have a premise that was closed or near closed for 2 years, you have to renovate or at least touch it up before you reopen. And frankly, that's again benefited us. So from a tailwind perspective, I would say definitely there is a good demand from the whole home sector. There is also demand from the new construction. And I think the good monsoon also augurs well for the future.
Right. Good afternoon, Mr. Puri. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. And let's talk about the rural versus urban, the debate that we always have. How has the growth rate been, both in rural as well as urban, or primarily rural versus urban growth rates? Could you just give us some details on that particular front? And also, if you could talk about your market share.
See, again, I won't look at it only for one quarter. If I look at it over a larger period of time, clearly, what we are now seeing in the last 3 to 6 months is some amount of moderation of growth in rural and semi-urban areas. Traditionally, we used to expect rural and semi-urban to grow 1.5 times urban. We're now finding they're coming back to the growth rates of urban, though unlike FMCG, it's not in our case, we're not declining or we're not seeing a decline in demand. We're seeing a slowing down of momentum and they're coming back to urban growths. Hopefully this good monsoon, the government's plans to invest a lot more in these sectors, in infrastructure will hopefully stimulate this in the second half, but we'll have to wait and see.
How much of price hike is taken by the company in Q1? What is on the ground situation?
In quarter one, again, across for different categories, the price hikes are different. But on a consolidated basis, I would say our price hike is between 2 and 3% in quarter one.
Right. Mr. Puri, let's talk now about raw material prices. We've seen some cooling down effect on the raw material front over the last couple of weeks. Could you now tell us what sort of an expectations you have with regards to margins going forward?
See, actually, from a input prices point of view, quarter one actually has been, in terms of raw material prices, the highest quarter ever. So you would see that our gross margins have declined substantially. In fact, a large part of the impact of quarter one will be felt in quarter two. The good news, however, is post quarter two, that is in the second half of the year, we are seeing some moderation in input prices. Our principal raw material, VAM, vinyl acetate monomer, which was at $2,600 a ton in the first quarter, we're seeing it moderate down to $2,000 a ton. And we believe that in the second half, it will even go down further.
Any plans to go more aggressive on the decorative paints?
See, we, again, as Pidilite, remember, we always operate across 3 categories, core categories, where we already have a market-leading position and our job is to grow the category. Growth categories where we compete against non-consumption, things like waterproofing, etc., where our job is to create the category. And pioneer categories, which very simply put are tomorrow's growth categories. So we have actions across all of these 3. These keep coming across. When you look at our growth, you will see that what is of satisfaction is that our growth is broad-based. It's across categories, it's across geographies, it's across both B2B and B2C businesses. So we're moving, as we say, our Fevicol elephant is marching on all fronts, and therefore we're continuing to make steady progress across a large variety of both product ranges, categories, and geographies.
Right. So let's talk about the paint segment. And are you seeing competition from paint companies, especially in the waterproofing segment for your waterproofing segment?
See, competition, we are no strangers to competition. Actually, we've each of our categories, given our market leading positions, we will always have new competitors. Our job is to delight our consumer a little more than anybody else. And if you look at our growth rates, hopefully we're doing that in most cases.
All right, Mr. Puri, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show to talk.